Make every night a wonderful journey, no matter where you are. Here is your harbor of the soul. Good night, sweet dreams. The first story, holder of the end, in any city, in any country. Go to any mental institution or halfway house, and you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of the end. Should a look of childlike fear come over the worker's face, you will then be taken to a cell in the building. It will be in a deep, hidden section of the building. All you will hear is the sound of someone talking to themselves echo the halls. It is in a language that you will not understand, but your very soul will feel unspeakable fear. Should the talking stop at any time, stop and quickly say aloud, "I'm just passing through. I wish to talk." If you still hear silence, flee, leave, do not stop for anything. Do not go home. Don't stay at an inn and sleep where your body drops. You will know in the morning if you've escaped. If the voice in the hall comes back after you, utter those words. Continue on. Upon reaching the cell, all you will see is a windowless room with a person in the corner, speaking an unknown language and cradling something. The person will only respond to one question: what happens when they all come together? The person will then stare into your eyes and answer your question in horrifying detail. Many go mad in that very cell. Some disappear soon after the meeting, and a few end their lives. But most do the worst thing and look upon the object in the person's hands. You will want to as well. Be warned that if you do, your death will be one of cruelty and unrelenting horror. Your death will be in that room, by that person's hands. That object is one of 538. They must never come together ever. Previous next. The second story, sabotage. The expression wrench in the gears comes from the Luddite movement in Britain in the early 19th century. Ever larger, more complicated looms were being built, putting skilled artisans out of a job in favor of cheaper and skilled labor. The machines did all the work a human had once done. Only faster protests began. English industry was not sympathetic, desperate. Some of the Luddites took to sabotaging the machines, breaking their frames, or throwing wrenches into the looms. Inner workings riots broke out across England as the Luddites gained followers and threat, and the very stability of the national economy. The military was dispatched to put down the instigators. One such confrontation took place at Burton's Mill in Middleton. The Luddites drew back into the mill itself as the army advanced in their haste to escape. Several Luddites fell into the colossal machines and found to their horror the wrenches are considerably tougher than human bones. The mill ground the unlucky Luddites into a red stain. The Burton Mill, after the incident, went on to break record outputs every month, as if the machines themselves were working faster. The government began arresting the Luddites in bulk, publicly executing the leaders and shipping the rest to internment camps to serve out their sentences. Few were ever seen again. Britain's looms grew in textiles, boomed as the Luddite movement was stamped out. When the old mills were finally torn down, decades later, the red-stained wooden iron seemed to be working even when unmanned, grinding away in hushed whispers. It is perhaps appropriate that they used wrenches to break down the old mills. The third story, on my shoulder. You know the concept of an angel and a devil on each shoulder. Cartoons used it a lot when I was a kid, so I guess the idea just got imprinted in my brain. Anyway, in my room, I have a wall mirror to my immediate left and a window to my right. At night, the light in the room makes the window a sort of dusky, blurry mirror which is what made me first think of the cartoon glitch. I have 2 copies of myself, one on each shoulder since the window copy is shaded and murky. I decided that was the devil and the mirror was the angel from time to time, and always in a joking manner. I'd ask them what they thought I should do before I'd make a decision of no real consequence. One night, a friend called me up, telling me that he had too much to drink at a party and wanted me to go help him home. This guy was something of a pain, and this sort of call was nothing new. It was latent. I was tired, but I tried to be a good Samaritan, so I was hesitant to just abandon him to the subway at that ungodly hour. I glanced over my left shoulder to the mirror and raised an eyebrow, as if to ask what to do. My reflection was unhelpfully mute. I turned to my right and opened my mouth to ask the rhetorical when I noticed something strange. The reflection, sparse and vague as it was, seemed to have its lips frozen in a silent no. I moved about and it mimicked me perfectly, but for that unchanging expression. I checked the mirror, but saw nothing strange in the faithful reflection. I was reasonably intrigued and more than a little freaked out. Slowly, I told my friend that, no, I would not be able to make it and he should try someone else. He hung up and I turned back to the window. The abnormality was gone. The next day, a Saturday, I slept in and due to a series of strange dreams and the shorter daylight hours of winter, I didn't wake up until it was dark out. After a groggy morning ritual, I took my usual seat and thought of my friend. I gave him a call to make sure he made it back all right. Feeling bad about not going to help him due to some slight visual hallucination, the phone rang for nearly a minute, and as I was about to hang up, a stranger's voice answered it. The stranger identified himself as a police officer and asked me why I was calling. When I explained, he told me that, regretfully, my friend had not made it home. He'd been savaged by some creature, possibly a rabid dog of some huge size. He said they were working with animal control to track down the beast, but he confided he'd never seen wounds like those before. Nervously, I thanked him and hung up. I looked at the window reflection for a long time, trying to see how. I don't know, something eventually. I gave up, but something in my peripheral caught my attention, and I turned to the mirror for a split sec, and I saw myself, torn apart, gory and drenched in blood, just as the officer had described my late friend. Written on the mirror's surface, above my corpse, were the words, "The one time you take HIS advice." My corpse seemed to be grinning at me. "I don't use mirrors anymore,"